Welcome to Sir Lancelot's Real Estate Roundtable, your guide to mastering the realm of real estate in Central East Florida. I am Sir Lancelot Lenard, ready to uncover the secrets of seller strategies, home staging, mortgage mastery, and more. From Daytona Beach to Cocoa Beach, Lake County to St. Augustine, join me as we navigate the intricacies of real estate. As the leader of the Sir Lancelot Group at Florida Homes Realty and Mortgage, I'm here to arm you with knowledge and innovation, whether you're a seasoned homeowner or a first-time buyer, unveiling the kingdom of real estate, one roundtable at a time. In real estate, surprises can kill deals. But what if inspections weren't just about finding problems? What if they could actually sell homes faster? Today on the Real Estate Roundtable, we're sitting down with Carlos Gonzalez, the founder of Atlantic Building Inspections. Since 2005, Carlos has transformed the inspection game in South Florida, completing over 2,000 inspections through the My Safe Florida Home program and building a thriving business by combining hands-on expertise with sharp, self-taught marketing strategies. Realtors, if you've ever had a deal stall because of an inspection report, you want to listen to this one. Carlos is here to show us how inspections can become your secret weapon for closing more deals faster. Carlos, welcome to the pod.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I'm excited.
Carlos, take us back. What inspired you to launch Atlantic Building Inspections back in 2005? And what was the biggest hurdle you faced getting started?
So, what inspired me is helping people. I truly just enjoy helping people. And I think that it's an industry that can provide buyers information on the largest purchase of their life. Most people will not buy $1 million car, but they'll buy $1 million home. When people are spending that kind of money, we can come in and be the expert, give them that information to help them make a wonderful decision, one way or the other, and guide them and help them. So, help was what inspired me to start. One of the biggest challenges was replicating myself. I When I first started, I was a one-man shop. And so I went out and did all the inspections and built a lot of great relationships out in the field. And then when I started hiring inspectors and training them, I would get a lot of pushback. Hey, Carlos isn't the one that showed up. Who's this guy? And so that was difficult. Transitioning from the technician to the business owner was challenging. I learned a lot. I made a lot of mistakes, and I think that out of all of that is why I am where I am today. And I guess we're all a product of our experiences and our past. All of those challenges were worth it, in my opinion. I really have enjoyed the journey so far. So, yeah.
I heard that's always going from being the person in the business to becoming the person of the business or running the business is always a hard point there for a lot of people. There, it's hard to let go of doing everything, isn't it? One of those.
Yeah. Yeah, so one of the scariest moments for me was when I stopped doing inspections, which was like, I don't know, between 8 and 10 years ago. I'm getting old, I don't remember, but it's been a long time. But I remember it was interesting though. It was like a leap of faith, and I already had three inspectors working, and I said, if I don't stop doing inspections, I will not be able to spend time on the business. I will continue to be in the business. And so I pulled the trigger, so to speak, and I stopped doing inspections. It was very scary. And then very quickly, I would say within a couple of months, I realized it was the actual best thing that I did, because once I did that, I really started focusing on business development and business growth, strategic relationships, just completely changed the trajectory of the company. But it was scary, definitely. Yeah,
You've
sure.
conducted thousands of inspections over the years. What's one story that stands out where an inspection actually saved the deal instead of killing it?
Wow, that's a good one. I remember many years ago, I was inspecting a small hotel in Miami Beach, and I crawled under it, and I found that it was a very significant structural problem. And immediately I think, oh man, I hate that, because I don't like being the bearer of bad news. I don't like saying these things and coming out and saying, hey, we got to get an engineer or we got to do this. And I feel like people, they get disappointed. I don't know, they're feeling like they're going to buy this property and it's an amazing property and everything's great. And then I come out and I say this. And so the buyer was like, if I had told him nothing, I said, listen, I think you got about $400,000 worth of structural damage here. We got to get an engineer. And he was like, okay. And I was like, wow, I was very surprised. And actually, he wound up negotiating and he wound up moving forward, talked to my engineer. They hit it off. And I think that he saw that we were honest. He saw the building for what it was. And I think that my way really of communicating the bad news was extremely important. I didn't make it doom and gloom. I wasn't an alarmist. I've never been an alarmist. I just gave him information and immediately started talking about the solution and how to get it resolved. And I think that at the end of the day, people like the truth. They like people who are honest. They don't like people to exaggerate. And I've always stayed away from that. I've always stayed away from the exaggerations. So I thought that was a pretty interesting thing. And in my mind, I'm thinking 400,000 is a lot of money. This guy is going to freak out. And he was like cool as a cucumber. It's like
Now,
nothing.
a lot of times when you're purchasing properties like hotels, motels, especially in like big hot areas like Miami, 400,000 is like for these guys. It sounds like for you and me, like regular people, that sounds like a trailer full of money. But if you're thinking about buying a hotel, motel, it's okay. It's just another expense we'll deal with,
Yeah.
and we'll probably. But if he gets that job done with it, it will be worth more, obviously. So you negotiate that. That's awesome. And by the way, I said for realtors, guys, this is also for all inspectors out there because Carlos has so much experience that I think we're going to learn a lot today about inspections and how to deal with clients. As he said, alarmists are often, we call them the deal killers in our world in real estate. We don't deal killers. We'd rather have an honest guy that can explain the issue the right way and have the deal move forward with the proper knowledge behind the buyers so they know what they're up against. Not just residential, commercial as well. And that's really important. A lot of agents see inspections as obstacles. How can realtors actually use inspections as a sales tool to position a property better?
That's a great question. So on the listing side, especially in this market that we're in, where we're actually working listings, 4 or 5 years ago, you put a listing, you took a picture with your cell phone and you had 10, 15 contracts. That's no longer the case. We're actually seeing listings expire and the buyer's market is getting stronger. So there's a balance now. There's more inventory, especially when it's this type of market. I think a real estate agent can really do something unique with their listing by having a pre-listing inspection. So we'll come out, we'll do a pre-listing, which is roof structure, electric, plumbing, the main things. We include the 4 point, the windstorm, those are the insurance inspections. If I was the listing agent and I went through that process, I would say to my seller, look, we're gonna do a shortcut here. We're gonna save some time and we're gonna save some negotiations because what we're gonna do is we're gonna do this inspection. Inspector may come up with 3 or 4 things. The seller will decide if you want to fix those 2 or 3 things. If you only want to fix 1 or 2 of them, we'll do that. We'll get some estimates for the other ones. We'll lay them on the table during the open house. We'll put our insurance reports. We'll put a couple of insurance proposals. We'll put a couple of mortgage scenarios. We'll put everything out there for the potential buyers to see. And we'll say, hey, here it is. Take it or leave it. Do you want this house or not? You're going to save a lot of time as a listing agent today by putting everything right there in front of everybody and saying, here it is. This is the good, the bad, and the ugly. Take it or leave it. And then if it's leave it, then it's my favorite 4 letter word, which is next. If that's not the right buyer, because I believe there's a buyer for every home and a home for every buyer. So at the end of the day, going that route eliminates negotiations, roadblocks, problems with getting insurance. If you really start to think about it, it opens it up and it saves a ton of time. Imagine the listing agent who takes the listing, is really excited, puts the home on the market, does the Zillow, the this, the pictures, the videos, the this, the 2, 3 months, open houses, people coming through, finally get an offer. Great. Buyer now brings his or her home inspection company in there and they tear the place apart. The roof is leaking in 3 places. Nobody knew about it. The roof is at the end of its life. It needs to be replaced. Nobody knew about it. Now the buyer's asking for a ridiculous concession because he and she, they know there's another house down the street for sale. There's two more on that block over there. There's a lot of inventory, so they have a lot of power. So they're asking for ridiculous concessions. Now that deal maybe falls apart. You wasted 2, 3 months. You got to start all over again. If you would have done the inspection, you would have known the roof issues. You would have been able to deal with them. You would have been able to market the home differently. Maybe a cash buyer, maybe there's just so much there by learning that information that benefits the real estate agent today, especially in this market.
And the home sellers as well. How would you
Yeah.
convince? Because would you, in your experience, would you include that in your repertoire as an agent? Look, I'll pay for the pre-listing inspection, or would you try to put it on the sellers because it is their house? They should know what's going on with it. And if that's the case, how would you try to let them know that this is a good investment on their behalf, like a $400, $500, $600 cost up front, that it's worth spending? Do you have any scripts or anything that you would recommend using for something like that?
Yeah, so a lot of real estate agents, they give a gift to their seller when they close. So and I would suggest that a real estate agent say to the seller, "Hey, look, I'm gonna have you pay for this. This is very important. This is why it's important. I'm gonna have you pay for it. If we close the sale, I'm gonna give this to you as a gift. So at the end, everything goes through, we close the deal, I'm gonna give you back this $400 or $500. It's gonna be my gift to you, rather than have the agent pay for it and take that liability and that responsibility, because now the agent is choosing the inspection company, hiring them, doing everything, which could open up a little bit of an issue for liability. You say, hey, this is what I want you to do, and I'm going to give it to you. It's going to be my gift to you at closing. So I've seen agents use that. I've also seen very high end, top producing agents say, this is how I do business. When I take this listing, we're doing a pre-listing. I'm doing a dry appraisal. I'm going to figure out what the range is where this property. I don't suggest in this market that we give a price of what we think the home is worth. I suggest a range, a low and a high, so that you can start massaging them and they can start to see that they're, listen, I've never seen a seller, okay, who doesn't imagine that their home is worth more than it's worth. That's the truth.
Yeah.
So they got to get to a point where they realized, hey, that my house is not worth that, right?
Yeah.
And that's a process. That doesn't happen overnight. So I think giving a range is a great idea. Using the inspections, you can also use these inspections to market the home. Let's say that I go out and we do an inspection pre-listing, and the home is in great shape. The roof is leak-free, and we're giving it 15 years on the inspection, useful remaining life. Now you can use that in your marketing. You can say pre-inspected, pre-certified home, roof has 15 years of roof life according to licensed inspector. All of these little things are going to set you apart in today's market.
And how does that build confidence with sellers and buyers?
Just think about it, right? First of all, the seller now knows exactly what's going on with their home. Buyer walks in and sees a professional report by a licensed inspector with pictures and videos and a real nice thing done. And by the way, they have access to us. So if a buyer says, I don't want to do an inspection, they already did an inspection. Can I call this inspector and have a conversation? Yes. We don't charge anything for that. They can call us. We'll go through the report with them on the phone. We'll explain everything to them. We give them that confidence. If a buyer comes into a home and all of that is laid out, and the realtor or the seller say, hey, this is a pre-certified, pre-inspected home, that's going to ring a bell. And where that rings a bell is in the used car market. You think about
Exactly.
the used car market and you think, okay, I'm in the market for a used car. I don't want to pay that premium. I know that when I drive away from the dealer, I lost 15 grand. I want to buy a used car, but I don't want to buy it from Joe Schmo in the street and not knowing what I'm buying. If I go to a reputable dealer, what do they announce? Pre-certified, pre-owned. So people have a connection to that already. If you can bring them there and say, hey, this is a pre-certified, pre-inspected home, that absolutely provides benefit and confidence to the buyer.
I like that. And then if the sellers do the repairs, let's say on the report, would you correct the report afterwards? Would you go do another inspection? How much does that cost usually? If there is a cost associated with that, Would it be just like, here is my roofer's invoice, here's my plumber's invoice, here's some new pictures. Would you update it like that, or would you want to come out and take a look at it again? And so how does that work? Tell me.
So that's all on a case by case basis, but for the most part, if the seller does the work with a licensed contractor, we will ask for paperwork with their license and their signature along with some photos. We don't charge anything to change reports for the life of the report. So as long as it's a licensed professional that we can attach paperwork to our report, we will amend it and send it off to the insurance and send it off to whoever needs it. We don't charge for that. If they opt not to use a licensed contractor, then they will need a reinspection. And so typically our reinspections are about $150. We'll come out, we'll look at everything again, change the report, amend it, provide it. So now you've got an all clear report, for example, for insurance or for the buyer on a specific issue that was found or whatever. So that's how that goes.
I love that, because you have a lot of times a lot of miscellaneous stuff, cracked outlet covers and squeaky doors and stuff like that come up on a report or similar. Just saying, sometimes.
Let me interrupt you there because
Yeah.
we are not.
I've seen cracked outlets. I'm
Yeah,
like,
I
is this
don't
on the report?
understand this. Yeah, I don't understand this. No, and the best part is that there's a cracked outlet cover
Yeah.
with a maybe $200. Oh, that's $200. You could buy a box of 30 of those things for $10 at Home Depot.
That's less. I'll tell
Yeah,
you.
I don't even understand why that's on a report. I've had buyers who say to me, these things weren't on the report. And I'd say, yeah, you're right. They weren't on the report.
The
Oh,
cosmetic.
you're admitting that you missed it. No, I'm admitting that it doesn't matter
Yeah.
because it doesn't matter, right?
Exactly.
Were you not going to buy the home because the outlet cover was cracked?
Yeah.
You were never going to buy the home then.
So a lot of what I was trying to say is there's a lot of miscellaneous stuff that a handyman can do and fix. Those are not like, more than likely they're not licensed the way that you and I think licensing is, as in a general contractor or a certified roofer, et cetera, et cetera. They're not in the professions that require licensing. They can do small fixes. Oh, there's
Well, that's a
you know,
good differentiator. So if
yeah,
you're in an industry that doesn't require a state license, then whatever you're dealing with, quite honestly, is just not that important.
not that important. Gotcha.
So if
Yeah.
you got an electrical problem, you need an electrician. If you got a
Yes.
roof problem, a roofer plumber. But if you've got a loose door, that's a handyman. That shouldn't be on a report that's going to kill the deal or kill insurance issue. It just shouldn't even really be there because it's not something. It could be in there as an improvement item or as a hey a mention, but not as a repair or replacement item. No.
Got you. Got you. So
Yeah.
it's not a red tag. Please
No.
change this, fix this. Your house is
Yeah.
gonna blow up if you don't do that.
Yeah.
Cracked tiles I've seen on reports and stuff like that as well, which tiling doesn't require a license in our area. I don't know if in your area does, but that those are also going on the report. I'm like, dude, yeah, I know it will probably cost them a couple $100 to get a guy out here to do that, but that's not really, I say it does change evaluation a little bit, because now, yes, you have some changed tiles. It does affect the value of the home, but
Right.
does it affect it in a way that you can't live in it? Like a cracked tile is not really
Right.
one of those things. Would you?
It's still doing its job, in other words.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. It's still doing its job. The function is still there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though it's cracked. I don't mind them being on a report, to be honest with you. It's just sometimes it gets okay, you added that to, and then the cracked outlets, and then the burnt out bulb in the light. And I'm like, I know you're doing your thing and you're doing an inspection, but a burnt out bulb is not, come on. It shouldn't be on.
Again, it's all about. I think a lot of it has to do, to be honest with you, where I think inspectors they feel almost obligated. They're taking a fee, and they're feeling obligated that, and they want to show their customer that they did a great job, and so they put a lot of this stuff on the report so that the customer can go, oh, "Wow, look how detailed my inspector was." But truth be told, if you've got a light fixture that has four bulbs and one bulb isn't working, that light fixture is perfectly fine. That
Yeah.
bulb is out. So you got a cracked tile on the floor, as long as it's not a structural thing where you see the floor is sloping or there's a gap between the baseboard and the floor, then it's not that big a deal either. It's a cosmetic issue. I just feel, and then sometimes I think buyers put pressure on the inspector. I was telling you earlier, I've had in my career buyers come up to me and say, "Hey, the report is very clean." And I say, "Yeah, the house is in great shape, but that's not what we paid you for." And I'm thinking, "No, you paid me to do an inspection, and I did. And I'm not going to invent things and put things on a report that don't exist. So you didn't really pay me to just put bad things that don't exist, did you?" And then they're like, "Oh no."
We
I
just want
said,
to
"Well, you
negotiate a
paid
little
me."
more.
Yeah, it's
I was
kind of
hoping to
weird,
get find. I was hoping for you to find some stuff. And
Yeah.
this is what we talked about in the beginning before we got on air is peace of mind. And that's what an inspector should give someone. Okay. Anybody listening, buyers, sellers, inspectors, realtors. The inspector's job is to give you a peace of mind, either the peace of mind of knowing what you will need to fix or the peace of mind of knowing that there's nothing to fix, but it's a peace of mind. That's what you're getting. You're not getting a report with 60 pages of miscellaneous small stuff that don't really belong on that report, or it shouldn't really be mentioned because it's, as we talked about, a cracked outlet is 20 cents a piece. It shouldn't really be on a report. But if, let's say, the switch is not working, that should be on the report. It's a malfunctioning part of the house. So these are things that I think is really important to talk about and to have people know. I think we're probably doing a pretty good job right now about it. So, what are the most common inspection challenges that derail deals in today's market, and how can realtors get ahead of them?
I think that the number one thing that derails deals today is findings on the report that provide a problem for obtaining insurance, because those things then really complicate, right? They go beyond the negotiation. Look, if you know that if you're taking a listing and the roof is 40 years old, you can almost anticipate that there's some issues with the roof, and maybe there's a leak or two that can be fixed and so on, but insurance is going to be an issue. It just is. And that issue may not be surmountable, right? You may wind up losing the deal because you couldn't get insurance, or the insurance was too high, or they didn't want to work with you, or so on and so forth. So I think that, again, with the pre listing, if you're on the listing side, getting the pre listing inspection with the 4 point in the windstorm insurance inspections is going to be your best line of defense, because again, you're going to be able to know what's going on. Am I going to be able to get insurance for this home or not? Then the roof is always the biggest concern for the buyer and the seller, always. And the reason is simple. People know that roofs have to be replaced every so often, and they also know that re-roofing is very expensive. And it's only gotten crazier after COVID. I remember before COVID it was expensive, but now it's mind-boggling. You're like, "Oh my God." I saw a roof estimate the other day for a regular house. I think it was like $70,000. And I'm like,
Holy cow.
what
Wow.
the, what's going on?
Single roof?
Yeah.
Or
No,
whoa.
it was a tile
Tile roof.
roof.
Yeah, those get
Yeah,
expensive, expensive.
they
Like,
get expensive. So people are worried about the state of it. Where are we in that process? Are we okay for the next 15 years so we can save up for one, or are we very close to needing one? So that's one of those things that could derail your deal. And again, getting ahead of that. So if you're an agent today and you're out in the field and you take a listing of a roof that's 20, 25 years and older, I would automatically stop and say, let's get this roof inspected. Let's find out where we're at. Let's know what's going on with it so that we can know which direction to take here, especially with insurance. Because again, if there's a leak or a problem or missing tile, broken tile, so on and so forth, you're going to be hard pressed to get insurance.
I had that about 6, 7 years ago. Okay. Roofs weren't that big of an issue for insurance companies. They were like, as long as the inspector said that it still has 5 to 10 years life in it. And this is the thing, the architectural shingle roofs that are going on these houses are supposed to last 30 years, 30 plus years, a lot of them, or even more. But what insurance companies did, a lot of them have set limitations to 20 years. It has to be changed every 20 years. So now the roofer that comes out and says this is a perfectly fine roof, you still have, there's no leaks, there's no cracks, there's nothing wrong with the shingles, but you have a 20-year-old roof, and he has to go, okay, I'll change your roof because the insurance company will say this. So that kind of push that came from the insurance company to say that we need the roofs to be a lot newer, all the roofs. It doesn't matter if you have a good roof in center of Florida or you're on the coast and you have a good roof on the coast on the ocean. They're all the same in their eyes, and you got to change it every 20 years now. It pushed a must on changing your roofs, which gave an upper hand to a lot of the roofers. So we're talking about increased prices. Yes, material prices have increased as well. Labor has increased as well. But to be honest with you, the insurance companies are putting the pressure on the sellers to change their roofs. So now they're in need to change a roof, which means that it creates demand, which means that the roofers can charge more for it. Or they have the insurance company involved and they charge times and a half because the insurance company is involved, because they know that, okay, oh, I'll do insurance roofs all day long, hailstorm or whatever. It just messes with the whole flow of things, and that raises our insurance plans and all the other things too. So it's not just the roofs getting more expensive, everything's getting expensive because of these, I think, in my opinion, and I'm not a professional insurance agent or anything like that, but in my opinion, that's one of the reasons this is happening. What do you think?
Yeah, they're trying to limit the amount of claims that are put in for when they force somebody to change a roof, that the homeowner's picking up that bill. And that, they wait around for a problem that the homeowner has and they put a claim in, then the insurance company's picking up that bill. So that's been the big change. And in Florida, we've had a big problem which got fixed. And I think we're starting to see the benefits of that correction. We have only 7-8% of all the insurance policies, yet we had 78% of all litigation. And so when you can assign benefits to attorneys, that is a big problem. That was changed 2 or 3 years ago, and you can no longer assign benefits to attorneys. So the litigation has gone down. Private insurance underwriters have come back into the market. People's homeowners insurance are actually going down. I would encourage anybody listening to this podcast to shop your insurance again at home now, because you're probably going to get a rate reduction. We've been seeing that as well. The other problem we have is the Sun Belt. A lot of people don't understand what that even means, so I'm going to explain it. We live in the Sun Belt. South Florida numbers for national roof life expectancy is different than the rest of the country. So a 30, 40-year architectural shingle is not really a 40-year shingle in South Florida, because of the sun beats it down way differently than it does in other parts of the country. If we get 20, 25 years out of an architectural shingle, everybody's excited, everybody's happy, even though it's a 40-year shingle. So that's the other thing that the insurance, I think, has grabbed onto. They're like, oh, we're pushing for that because it's the Sun Belt and statistics. And most of these insurance companies, they run on statistics. So they'll look and they'll say, statistically, the average 20-year roof is leaking, it's got problems, and it needs to be replaced. And so they're holding on to that to lower the amount of claims that they get. So I agree with you. I'm not an insurance agent, but I do see that's probably what's going on.
Yeah, yeah. And we get the short end of the stick as realtors and inspectors. And I was like putting that on the report, like, hey, can you give it another 5 years? No, man, I can't.
Yeah.
But, so the point was where I was going with that 6 years ago, if you put 5 years life expectancy, the insurance company was good with that. Now, if it says if they change the roof in 2005 or before, that roof needs to be changed in 2025, even if it has 5 years of expectancy in it. That's the thing that I'm like, really?
Yeah,
I
they'll
get
give
it,
you the insurance,
but it's
then
going to be at a
within 1
premium.
year,
Yeah,
not only that, within 1 year, they're going to send you a letter that says you need to
replace your roof. Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
It gets up there, and that gets up in price. I know. I think everybody should budget for things like that. If you buy a home and you get an inspection, and the inspector says, "Look, it's 10 years ago it was replaced. You have 10 years left in the roof." I would start saving for it within the next 10 years for a new roof. So put
That's
some
the
money
thing. I
aside.
think people don't know this. It's lack of education. I bought my home in 2009. When I bought my home, I opened up a bank account and I started putting money aside for a roof. I had to re-roof this year, and I was about $800 short of re-roofing. And my wife says to me, "Oh, you're a nerd or whatever." I said, "No, I just know too much. I
Yeah.
know, I know that this is coming. I know that this is inevitable. And so I'd rather put a little bit away every month and then not have that big expense years from now. So if people only understood and knew, and that's a great point that you're making, these are things that should be budgeted for. When you buy a home, you should immediately say, okay, what are my replacement items here? What more or less is their time frame? And so let me work backwards and put in place a savings, monthly savings, so that this isn't a big deal when it's time to do it.
It's enough to just have an interest bearing account where you make 4 or 5% on your money and just boop,
Yep.
boop, every month, 10, 20, 30, 40, $50, depending on what you're budgeting for, put it into that account and don't touch it because those are going to come. Those expenses are going to come. It's not going to go away. I've seen AC units, 25-year-olds still running, but come on.
That's rare, especially in South Florida where it's so hot.
Up here, they still have those. The bigger ones, I think, mostly on mobile homes, those train or whatever they are, those large that are compressor and the other
package unit.
Yeah, like a package unit. It looks industrial, which probably it is. Those tend to run longer, and if you're not close to the shoreline, it's even better. And I've seen 25-year-old, and my guy was like, I don't even know if this is true. And he was telling me it's like a 25-year-old unit and it's purring like a kitten. It's cold inside. It was probably really well maintained throughout the 25 years.
Yeah.
But then again, is it worth having a 25-year-old and a $250 electricity bill or $300 electricity bill? That's also a thought, because as we were progressing to newer and newer technologies, we get better and better electrical usage. So you might want to change your unit after X amount of years because you get a better unit.
You'll pay yourself back.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll pay yourself back. Right?
The older the unit, the more electricity it pulls. Yeah, you know how everybody says that they didn't build them like back in the old days. That's not always true on electrical devices. Like we're getting better at doing those.
Yeah.
Maybe
the technology is just getting better.
Yes, exactly. You've mentioned working hand in hand with realtors. What does the best realtor-inspector relationship look like?
That's a great question. Actually, many years ago, I decided that this relationship problem that we had, where the realtor looked at us as the contract assassin, the contract killer, and we looked at the realtor as this machine that only wanted to be fed commission dollars and didn't really care about the human beings that they were working with, was false. It's just not true. Are there exceptions to that? Yes. But the majority I have found are people who are out there working and they're making a living and they have their client's best interest at heart. So if I have my best interest for my client and the realtor has the best interest for the client, then we should have a great relationship. Why do we not have a great relationship? My job isn't to attack the real estate agent's work and make it harder or make it impossible for him or her to get a deal closed. My job is to help the real estate agent close every single deal by providing great education, great information, a non-alarming, a layman's term inspection report, a continued help, a continued guidance. If there is a roof problem, I got 3 roofers. Let's get one of them out there. Let's get all 3 of them out there. How can I help you jump this hurdle? How can we jump the hurdle together? I think that the best inspector real estate agent relationship looks like 2 people who are interested in the best for their customer and who work together, who help each other. We're not attacking each other. We have to trust each other. I have to trust that the realtor has the experience to navigate the transaction. And the realtor has to have the trust that if I'm saying that this is not good, it's because I've already been through that process 5 million times and it's no good. And we got to find a solution. I once heard years ago that managers, their job is to find solutions. And I think that if we're both committed, real estate agent, inspector, to finding solutions and doing what's best for the customer, we should have a fantastic relationship. And I've proven that because over the last 25 years in my career, some of my best friends on earth are real estate agents.
That is awesome. And I think so too. I think we should work together for the common goal. in getting our client the best situation we could get them in with the most knowledge and for them. And that's what we talked about. Knowledge is power. So you guys provide knowledge about the home and help translate it into layman's terms for a client. And that's not an alertist, as you said. There are things on a report that's going to sound like it's the end of the world, but it probably isn't. And you could probably get it fixed you can find a good roofer. And that's where the realtor comes in with all of his superpowers, having being the mayor of town and knowing all the people to help you with that. But I have a handyman for you. I got a roofer, I got a plumber, I got an electrician, whatever you need. And they're not going to come down and beat you down on prices. And
and they're honest.
and they're honest people. Exactly. That's the most important part. And that's what a realtor provides as value. A lot of times it's not finding a home. And you and I know that. Not anymore. It used to be the thing. Like we used to have the big books, stuff like that. I didn't work in that era. I worked in an internet era only, which means that since I've been in business for the last 10 years, we had Zillow. And if you had Zillow, a lot of the clients were coming to you with addresses and everything. So our superpower wasn't from finding the property. It was more about who we know, how we can help with that, navigate the transaction, negotiate the deal. Those are our main attributes to a client because
And I think that's only going to get stronger with AI and all of these changes that are occurring. I think we're just at the beginning of the AI revolution. I think
yeah.
that's going to be even more important. I don't think real estate agents will ever be replaced because they bring that human touch. They bring that level of guidance. So many things can happen in a transaction: title, mortgage, the lender, the interest rate went down, went up, this, that. You've got inspection issues, you've got all kinds of things. And I think that the realtor's in the center of it and guiding all of those moving parts, if you will. But I agree with you. Even in today's world, like you said, I believe that more and more people are going to come to you, like you said, with the information. It's how you guide them through the process that's going to set you apart.
Yeah, yeah. And it's never a stress-free thing going through transactions, but realtors can mitigate the stress immensely if they show calm demeanor and navigate you through with the right answers for the right questions. I think that's what we're really good at. And if we get
Yeah,
better and better at that's the thing that will keep. I don't know how many inspections report I had to explain to my clients, like a lot of them. Because
I
I,
would
I
imagine.
I worked with multiple inspectors in my 10-year career. I think I have a really good one right now. I love him to death. He's awesome in explaining everything. He used to work as a plumber. He used to work I think, as an electrician. He worked in the field. So he
Right.
has the knowledge of the construction part of things. So when it comes down to explaining something like a leaky pipe under the sink, it is so much easier for him to explain that to someone. But it used to be me. I was reading through the reports because I couldn't, not all my inspectors were well trusted enough or had a good enough, let's say, verbal palate. Explain it in the right way. That, look, I think this point we should heavily push on, but these things over here are not as important to try to get
Right.
fixed or have it done. And the way that was explained to the clients, they were like, "Oh, that makes me feel much better. I'm more warm and fuzzy inside." But when we got the report at first, we were like in shock that how many things need to be fixed. And I'm like, but that's why I'm here. We can go through that together and help you with that. Should be, I think, the inspector doing that. As soon as here's the report, makes the phone call. Hey, I sent you the report. Give me a call right after when you're done reading it.
I think one of the problems is that inspectors are very technically trained. We're not trained in the art of the deal. We're not trained in the art of communicating the findings. We don't really have any training on what a real estate agent goes through to get somebody to the point of the inspection day. And so the inspector comes in with all their technical focus, and then they don't realize that they don't include the human element.
Yeah, that's
So
it.
that, I think, is one of the things that has made us so successful at what we do, is that we come in with both. We've got the technical, but we've got the human side of it. And we can combine those very nicely. Like you mentioned, your guy, he can explain it in a way where most people will understand it.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. I think that's very important.
I mean, how much does a P trap cost? Back to that point. It's
Yeah.
a $10 expense oh, leaky faucet, it's ruined the cabinets, it's probably leaking into
Yep.
the walls, it's seeping everywhere, it's like
Yep.
mold
That's right.
growing. That a buyer's mind goes all the way that to that point. And I'm not kidding you. Every single time when there's a tiny leak, it goes to that point. It's, oh, mold growing on the walls, bugs crawling in the walls, all that kind of stuff that all the movies gave them, and all the old school movies with the leaky drippy faucets and stuff like that. So
That's the other thing. Like people, the media sometimes really hurts because mold is a great example. Every time somebody hears the word mold, they think, "Oh my
oh, it's
God,
yeah,
oh
it's
my God."
scary. It's like the
And
end
the
of the
truth
world.
is, there's great molds, and there's molds that we need to survive. And mold is not all bad. In fact, it's used in medicine, it's used in foods. Mold is, I'm weird because somebody says to me, "Hey, I think I have mold." I said, "Oh my God, that's great." And they look at me like, "What?" I said, "Yeah, there's great molds. I hope you got one of the good ones." And
Yeah.
then they laugh and I diffuse the situation and people go, "What do you mean? One of the good ones?" And then I start educating and they're going, "Oh, so this is not all doom and gloom. This is not all terrible." So again, it takes education. I think we live in a world where everybody wants to be called an expert. I'm an expert. You're an expert. We're experts. Everybody's an expert. But what is the meaning of expert? I think it's a combination of two things: education and experience. But a lot of people are not willing to educate themselves and they don't have the experience, but they're experts, right?
Yeah.
So that's where I think we have a disconnect. To truly be an expert, you have to spend time and energy educating yourself, growing in your field, knowing what is the truth so that when you speak to people, you can confidently explain it to them.
Yeah, that's the typical point of a father-in-law coming along with his measuring tape too. There's a lot of skits out there about that. That's not plumb. That's not plumb. That with the
Right.
inspector there, and the inspector's, oh my God, breathing down my neck.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
just let him do his job. We're here because we're here, but he's doing his job. And the more we press on him, the more mistakes he can make. So
For
just
sure.
let him go. That's what I'm like, it's better even if you don't show up a lot of times. Just
Yeah.
show up at the end. It's going to take him an hour and 20 minutes. Exactly. Usually on the regular home. So he starts at 11, come at 12. We'll have a little chat. When he's finished, he'll come out and tell us what he found you
That's
know
great.
and
That's
that's the
perfect.
best way of you don't have to sit here for an hour and a half, look at each other on a couch.
Right.
I'll
Right.
be
Right.
there if I have to. A lot of times we don't even have to be there as realtors. Like I can trust my guy to go out there and do the
Right.
inspection, and then I'll go and talk to him. It's like, hey, so show me what you got.
Of course. Yeah.
Time is money, everybody, even the buyer. You don't have to sit here for an hour and a half
Right.
unless you're going to go through all the stuff in their refrigerator and taking
Right.
measurements of rooms and
Uh,
stuff where the furniture is going to go.
I've seen it all, brother.
I know you did.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So the next question is, I know you use build facts data in your work. How does a property history empower agents and buyers during negotiations? Explain what
Um,
build facts is too, just so
so
people.
BuildFax is like Carfax, but for buildings, right? It's a great report. You can buy it online, and it's a wonderful tool because it gives you a lot of the history of the property. If the property's been involved in a flood or a fire, it tells you. If the property has hurricane protection, if it has a septic system, it'll tell you. It'll tell you a list of all the permits that have been pulled on the property and a list of all the contractors that have worked on the property. It'll tell you all that. So it just gives you a world of information. And before you get to the negotiation, you can pull these things and go into your listing presentation and be the expert, right? You're now coming in, you're interviewing for a job. That's what you're doing. And you've got the seller who is your potential customer, and you show up with everything that everybody else did, but you also bring a build fax and you give it to them as a gift and you say, "Hey, I know how old your roof is. I know what's going on. I did my homework," and they're impressed. First of all, they're impressed. Second of all, you've got great information. So that puts you in a different spot with them. And many agents tell me, "Hey, when I use that in the listing presentation, I usually get the listing because I've set myself apart. I've already shown that customer that I'm going to spend time and energy and money on them even before they hired me." So now you're working with a buyer and the buyer's looking at three properties and you pull the three build faxes for the three properties and you show up on Saturday morning and you're excited to see the place. And what is the first question the buyer is going to ask? How old is the roof?
Every single time. That's like the
Every single time.
and then they go and try to look at the AC unit. They're looking at it, poking at it. Do you know how old the AC unit is? That's the next
Listing
one.
agents probably have no clue. I don't know
Yeah.
how old the roof is, but you're the buyer's agent and you brought a lot of value. So you open up your thing and the roof is 10 years old and the permit was pulled up. And now your buyer's looking at you going, wow, my agent he's on it. You know what I mean? So it really does set yourself apart totally. As far as using the build facts for negotiating, it's just great information to know that things have a permit, that they were done the right way. The seller can say, hey, everything we did, we pulled permits, we did the right way. Here's proof of that. Here's the report. Again, builds buyer confidence, eliminates negotiations. It just creates a whole different setting. It's like you go buy a car and you pull a Carfax and you can see everything that happened with that vehicle. You feel way better knowing that you're moving forward with the purchase in a different way. So I think that's something that really provides that for the buyer and the seller, for both of
Oh
them.
yeah, pre-listing inspection and having that in your hand because a lot of times, like, do you know when you replace your roof? I think we did it in 20, was it 13 or 14? They forgot. It's been a while.
Yeah, they forgot.
When you pull that data and hand it to them, they have that in their hands, and you know that. And if they call you as a listing agent and you're knowledgeable about those things, you're looking good in the buyer's agent's eyes too. They know that they can't steamroll you. Sorry, tongue twister.
Yeah, that's true.
They can't steamroll you with unknown information if you have that.
That's
And
right.
that's good knowledge. I really like that. And I think a few of my inspectors use that program before, especially the South Florida ones. They they love
Yeah,
that.
that's awesome. That's awesome.
So, what inspection trends are you seeing right now? Are buyers more cautious or are they leaning on inspectors differently post 2020?
100%. I think they're using the inspection and they're looking at their reports with a fine tooth comb and they're really going through it. And they understand, I think, that there's just a lot of choices now. And so when that happens, then they start to look at the details, right? They start getting into the details. They start asking for concessions for different things. And so sellers are having to loosen their hand on the grip a little bit because either that or they're going to lose the deal and they're going to go somewhere else. So I think buyers are using the inspection process and the inspection findings in a more powerful way now than back before this shift in the market. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too, by the way. And I always say that to my buyers. It's the best time to buy right now. They're like, why? Interest rates are high and this and that and the other thing. But you can go in and negotiate because of those facts.
Right.
Because you're going to go in as like, my mortgage payments are $3,000 because your roof is, and you could get that information pre going looking
Yep.
at a house, as you said, pulling data, showing it to an insurance company, pulling in about how much it's going to cost me for insurance. You already know about the taxes, you know about all the other things. So you're going to be like, yeah, this is my mortgage payment. Your mortgage payment is $1,500. Mine's $2,500. Why would I want to buy your house at a premium if that's the case? Also, as we just mentioned, we get into the deal and we get to the point where we're doing inspections and there's a bunch of stuff wrong with the house. Why are you asking for like the same price as a brand new home that was built this year? And you're asking for the same price. I know the location, but you need to fix a bunch of stuff before you
Right.
can ask for the premium. That's what I try to explain to my sellers. And I think this is going to be good. I'm going to try to use the pre-listing inspections. I think it's a lot of value to it. I haven't been using it that much. I think I might have had one or two sales that I had it on. It's just it was hard to get the sellers to agree to paying the fees up front. They don't trust their own house in that
I
aspect.
think it's a little easier in today's market because one of the things that you could use as a selling point on there would be there's a lot of inventory. We want to set your home apart. We don't only want to know what's wrong, we want to know what's good. And then that shifts the mind because when people think of an inspection, the inspection is to do what? To find the things that are wrong. What if the inspection was also to find the things that are right? And so when you put it that way, Now the seller's going, oh, wait a minute. So the inspection will highlight what's wrong and will also highlight what's right. And so we can use what's right to set ourselves apart. Once they understand that concept, then, and you got to be working with the right inspector, right? Because we put positive attributes on all of our reports. What does that mean? That means that if I produce a report and everything is bad and I hand it to somebody, by the time they're done reading it, they're in a negative space. But if I produce a report that has some negative things and also has some positive, the windows are newer and they're in great shape, the roof is only 3 years old and it's leak free and everything's great, then when they read that, they're in a balanced space, right? They're thinking, okay, there's some good, there's some bad. Normal, that's normal. But if everything is doom and gloom and if everything is bad, that's a problem. So I personally think that today in this market, it's very easy. It would be very easy for me to convince a seller to spend $300-400 on a pre-listing inspection, knowing, explaining to them what they're going to get for that. The elimination of roadblocks, the assurance of being able to get insurance. So we've got a buyer on the hook, right? There's not a lot of them. They made an offer that you agreed to, and now they can't get insurance, right?
Yeah.
If we do a pre-listing, we're going to eliminate that problem. So the seller is going to be like, oh, that's great. So now the issue is getting the buyer on the hook. Everything else is in order.
Yeah.
Everything else is clear.
As long as they fix the items that need to be fixed on the pre.
Or you disclose them. You can say, hey, this is what it is. This is what they're selling. They don't want to fix these things. That's why the home price is what it is. It's reflective of these issues. And that's it.
Yeah, we
go
did.
forward.
It's the best way. That's where I was getting is once you get this pre-listing inspection done, I told you before we got on air is that up here we don't really put price to it. But if you have a good enough agent that can pull in a contractor to look at that report and say, oh, it would cost you $25,000, let's say, to fix this. And so we're looking at, this is your top end of if your house is perfect, this is how much you could get for it. But we have $25,000 worth of fixing, so you got to drop the price by that much to get it to the point where now we're playing ball. And then you can explain that to the other side as, look, we dropped the price by that much because here's the report. This is what and here's the contractor's written thing that he would fix these items for this much money.
You've just eliminated almost all the negotiation because they either take it or they don't.
Exactly. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
If you could give realtors just one golden piece of advice for turning inspections from deal killers into deal closers, what would it be?
It's literally one word: questions. So a lot of agents don't realize that the questions you ask are more important than the answers you get. And what does that mean? I'll give you a scenario. We're on an inspection. We finish the inspection. Let's just say I'm the inspector. I'm going through the findings and I say, hey, the roof is leaking, right? The real estate agent could argue, could say the roof's not leaking. I know it's not leaking. My seller told me we did a pre-listing, blah, blah, blah. And they can fight me. They can go at me, which typically doesn't end well. First of all, it shows everybody else that you're fighting. The inspector will inevitably prove her or him wrong or try to. What if the agent said, oh my God, the roof is leaking. Where is it leaking? Question. Can you walk us over to where it's leaking? Question. By the way, Carlos, did you use a moisture meter? Question. Did moisture meter test wet? What was the level? What was the percentage? Question. Do you know if it's been raining lately? Could it be something else? Could it maybe not be the roof? Maybe it's a plumbing leak in the attic. Maybe there's an air conditioning leak. Were you able to get into that area in other words, what I'm saying here is ask questions. The inspector will either A, rise above it, show everybody that he's got the right answers, show everybody that he's experienced, that he understands, that he knows what he's doing, he knows what he's talking about, he's used all the right equipment. We believe in this guy now. Wow, this guy, or he is going to drown himself. He's going to go, what's a moisture meter? What do you mean, did I use a moisture meter? I don't know if it's been raining. No, I couldn't get in that area in the attic. Yeah, could it be a plumbing thing? Maybe. I don't know. I couldn't get in there. What are you creating with everybody who's listening is either this guy knows what he's doing and I trust him, or this guy's a bumbling fool. But you
Mhm.
don't have to fight the guy. You just have to have good questions. The questions you ask are very important. Keep asking questions and questions. Don't stop asking questions. That's my advice to real estate agents. And I think that's the best way to get through an inspection that has some findings that are not so favorable.
Yeah. Oh, Carlos, thank you for bringing so much insight today. You've shown us that inspections aren't just about finding flaws. They're about creating confidence and helping realtors build trust with their clients. For those who want to connect with Carlos and Atlantic Building Inspections, head over to atlanticbuildinginspections.com or follow them on Instagram and Facebook at Atlantic Building Inspections. And you could also scan the QR code I see, Carlos, up on your screen. I'm pretty sure that will get you there. Yep, right there. If you found value in today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share this podcast with another realtor or inspector or home buyer or seller who needs to hear it. I'm your host, Lancelot Lenard, and this has been the Real Estate Roundtable, where the deals get smarter and the conversations get real. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on Sir Lancelot's Real Estate Roundtable, where we've unveiled the mysteries of real estate together. Remember, in this kingdom of possibilities, every dream home is just a discussion away. I can help your real estate dreams come true. Just call me at 786-449-7518. Until our next roundtable, may your ventures be prosperous and your homes be filled with love and joy. Farewell, fellow knights of real estate.